What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? Noah Gray here, tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Josh's channel and check out showmefootball.com.
What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fan of showmefootball.com and arrowheadaddict.com, covering your Kansas City Chiefs, and I wanted to take the opportunity to really quick discuss the breaking news that the Kansas City Chiefs have signed free agent tight end Irv Smith Jr. to a one-year deal. I'm going to talk about that a little bit, and then I'm going to drop some general free agency thoughts to kind of discuss what's happened over the past 24 hours and just some more Chiefs free agency thoughts. But let's start with Irv Smith Jr., who came over from the Cincinnati Bengals, also previously played for the Minnesota Vikings. He was a relatively high draft pick in the 2019 NFL draft. He's still pretty young. He was a top 50 overall pick not that long ago. He's had a little bit of a disappointing career. That's why he didn't even finish out his rookie contract with the Minnesota Vikings. But he comes over from the Cincinnati Bengals, where they gave him an opportunity and things still didn't quite work out there. But you're bringing him into Kansas City, where he's not going to be expected to be even in the top two of your tight end rotation. That's still Travis Kelce and Noah Gray. But Irv Smith is a very intriguing addition to that tight end room, because I think he could be an extremely solid tight end 3, and I still think there's plenty of upside here with a guy like Irv Smith. I made a free agent tight end video about a week ago. Maybe it was a couple weeks ago at this point. Can't remember. Time's been flying by so fast, though, and free agency is here and everything like that. Everything's been super busy. But I made that video. I didn't mention Irv Smith. I mentioned a few other guys that all have been picked up to this point. But I've talked about why the Kansas City Chiefs need to pick up a tight end, and it's because you need to get a guy that can provide a little bit, whether it's blocking or receiving, or just brings a strength to a certain area and can actually contribute in the tight end rotation, because you need to be looking for someone that can eat snaps as Travis Kelce continues to get older. He deserves to have a breather, because last year he was kind of made to carry the load for the offense, and that wasn't fair to him, especially not at this age. Irv Smith is a guy that can go out there and play because he's played significant snaps, and even though his career has been off to a disappointing start, just not very good. Even last year for the Cincinnati Bengals, he had 18 catches for 115 yards and 1 touchdown. His best year was in 2020, and he had 30 catches for 365 yards and 5 touchdowns for the Minnesota Vikings. And he's also struggled with injuries. He only played in 16 or more games in 2019, which was his rookie year. Since then, 13 games, 8 games in 2022, and then only 12 games in 2023. He's definitely someone that you're going to have to kind of see if you can get him healthy under this training staff. We know the Chiefs training staff has had success keeping players healthy, so maybe a change of scenery would be good for him. And then you're putting him in an offense where it's like, if you can't thrive here, then you're probably never gonna thrive. The Chiefs love to use 13 personnel. They love to use multiple tight ends. You have Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback in the league, Andy Reid designing plays. So this kind of feels like Irv Smith's opportunity to come somewhere where they have a winning culture, and the situation is just kind of cut out for him. And then maybe you can see some of that potential be reached that a lot of people thought he had coming out of the 2019 draft. He was a really good tight end in Alabama. Again, top 50 pick in the NFL draft not that long ago. Teams clearly see upside in him, and that's why Cincinnati took a chance on him last year. So I'm hoping that the Chiefs can kind of get some untapped potential out of him, see if they can get a little bit more juice out of that squeeze. But I like it as a tight end 3 for sure. I think it's an upgrade from Blake Bell or Jody Fortson. Jody Fortson can't stay healthy. Blake Bell is purely a blocker. Irv Smith can block a little bit, and he's a little bit more of a receiver than Blake Bell. I think Irv Smith is definitely a guy that you can utilize in the red zone, help with that red zone offense, and carve some holes in the running game when you're using multiple tight ends, all that good stuff. So I like this as a tight end 3 signing. It's nothing more than that. So far, it's the only true move that the Kansas City Chiefs have made from outside of the organization. Obviously, they retained Chris Jones, and that was a huge step. That was the first domino. Great that you kept him, and then they've made a few other small moves. They brought back Deion Bush. They re-signed James Winchester. I think they signed all of their ERFAs. So there's that, but everyone's kind of looking at that wide receiver market, and that's kind of where I wanted to inject some more free agency thoughts into this video outside of just Irv Smith, because everyone's looking at the veteran wide receiver market, wondering who the Chiefs are going to get Yesterday, it seemed like a lot of smoke was surrounding Bears wide receiver Darnell Mooney. Jeremy Fowler dropped a tweet saying that the Chiefs were interested. He specifically mentioned the Chiefs and nobody else, which kind of made it sound like the Chiefs were going hard after Darnell Mooney. But the tweet, the way it was worded, made it sound like that Darnell Mooney was kind of fishing for offers, seeing what else was out there, but that the Kansas City Chiefs were coming after hardest. And then, of course, early this morning, Darnell Mooney signs with the Atlanta Falcons, 3 years, $38 million, which is about what I thought he would get. That's not far off from what his projected market value was on SpotTrack.com. And then I saw a bunch of Chiefs fans saying, oh, that's an overpay for Mooney, 3 years, $38 million, no thanks. And it's like, guys, that's kind of what the going market is. That's kind of what the going rate is for a solid veteran wide receiver. So if Chiefs fans think that $13 million per year like Darnell Mooney got is too much, you're in for a rude awakening in this wide receiver market. You're not getting a solid veteran without paying at least $10 million per year. I mean, if Marquez Valdez-Scantling was getting $11 million for 3 years in Kansas City, you know, if we're talking about a guy like Marquise Brown or Darnell Mooney, who the Chiefs seem to be in on, I mean, obviously Mooney signed with the Falcons, but the Chiefs were in on him. You know, you're not getting any of those guys without paying a little bit, because, I mean, the cap went up enormously. Players are getting paid more, and based on what the Chiefs have paid guys in the past, those guys should be expecting that kind of offer from the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs can't sit here and think that everyone's just going to play for pennies because it's Patrick Mahomes and it's a winning organization. Like, yes, this is a good ring-chasing destination for an older veteran maybe that's already been paid in their career and that kind of thing. But these guys still want money. You know, they're not going to sign up to play for free for the Kansas City Chiefs because it's Brett Veach and Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. That's just not how this works. So I saw a lot of that talk going on Twitter this morning because Calvin Ridley also seems to be off the board. He hasn't signed anywhere yet, not as of making this video, but the Patriots have an offer out to him, and then according to Adam Schefter, it sounds like Calvin Ridley wants to stay at the Jaguars, but is trying to get more money out of them. We'll see what happens there, but it doesn't seem like the Chiefs are involved. That leaves a few other guys that I mentioned: Curtis Samuel, Tyler Boyd, Marquise Brown. That's kind of what you're looking at. And if the Chiefs don't grab any of those guys, I'm going to start to become a little bit concerned, because I don't think you can just rely on the draft to fix the wide receiver problem. You have to bring in a high floor veteran. Absolutely have to. And I'm not talking about a Cedric Wilson or someone like that, like a bottom of the barrel bargain free agent. You need a floor raiser, someone that you know is going to give you about 600 to 700 yards. Marquise Brown, Curtis Samuel, one of those guys, because we did this last year. If you go into the draft with a huge hole at wide receiver and think it's just going to be Rashee Rice and friends next year and you're going to win another Super Bowl, I'm not a big fan of that plan. I don't want to see that, because then this draft is very deep at wide receiver, and I feel like it's going to be hard to screw up. But at the same time, you want to avoid a situation where you're relying on a rookie to come in and fill that hole, and then you end up with another Sky Moore scenario where the guy's just a complete bust and isn't going to help you this year, or maybe ever. So I'm hoping that the Chiefs aren't cheaping out of the veteran wide receiver market. They haven't signed anyone yet. I keep checking my phone constantly to make sure they don't sign someone as I'm making this video, and then everything I say becomes useless. But, I mean, I'm really hoping to see the Chiefs get in on the veteran wide receiver market here in the next 24 to 48 hours, because it seems like teams are starting to move on those guys. Chiefs missed out on Mooney. Got to move quickly. Irv Smith Jr. is a nice start to free agency. They definitely needed a depth tight end, and that's really all this free agency is going to be, too. Like, you're not going to see the Chiefs go out there and make a huge splash. That was never going to happen this offseason. Their huge splash was bringing back Chris Jones. If they didn't bring back Chris Jones, then yeah, maybe. But they brought back Chris Jones. Now you're going to be looking at a free agency haul of, like, I don't know, Emmanuel Ogbah, Marquise Brown, some veteran running back. You know, that's what this free agency is going to be, and that's fine. And then you can fill the rest of the holes in the NFL draft. We also haven't seen the Chiefs really open up a bunch of money yet. Like a lot of people are expecting. There hasn't been a Mahomes restructure. A L'Jarius Sneed trade has not happened yet. Seems like that market's moving kind of slow. I'll be interested to see what Sneed gets, though, because yesterday the Lions traded for Carlton Davis, I believe it was, one of the Bucs corners. I think it was Carlton Davis. And he got a 3rd-round pick. Now, there was a couple of 6th-round swaps in there, but the main piece of compensation was that 3rd-round pick. L'Jarius Sneed is a lot better than Carlton Davis. So if Carlton Davis is getting a 3rd-round pick, it feels like L'Jarius Sneed should at least fetch a 2nd, right? But then Brian Burns, the star pass rusher for the Carolina Panthers, went from the Panthers to the Giants, and the Giants only gave up a 2nd and a 5th. And a young 25-year-old premium pass rusher is always going to be more valuable than a 27-year-old cornerback like Sneed, who isn't necessarily considered, the elite of the elite. He's very good, but he isn't considered an elite corner. He had an elite year last year, but that was his 1 year of elite production, and he didn't even make All-Pro. You can argue whether or not he deserved it, but he wasn't an All-Pro. McDuffie was. I think a lot of people around the league view McDuffie as the better corner than Sneed. But the point that I'm making is if a young premium pass rusher, a position that gets paid more all the time, is only getting a 2nd and a 5th, then what is Sneed going to get? Because Sneed is not a young premium pass rusher. He's a corner. Okay, corners just aren't worth as much. So, I don't know, man. This Sneed market's really intriguing to see. We'll see how it plays out. There's still some teams out there that seem like they're going to be interested. I saw the Titans rumored this morning. I think the Falcons are still in the mix. And then the Minnesota Vikings, especially after losing out on Kirk Cousins, have some money to spend. So we'll see, man. But those are my thoughts on free agency so far. I wanted to talk about those and then discuss the Irv Smith Jr. signing a little bit. So yeah, guys, those are my thoughts. Make sure you let me know down in the comments if you agree with me, disagree with me on anything. Let's get some dialogue going. What else do you want to see in Chiefs free agency so far? But with all that being said, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. And make sure you check out my work on showmefootball.com and arrowheadaddict.com for more. See you in the next one. Go Chiefs!